here at Wonders of Wildlife National Museum and Aquarium here in Springfield, Missouri. Thank you for joining us as we talk about our newest mission for the month of January, endangered species. So some of you may ask, what is an endangered species? An endangered species is a plant or an animal that is at the risk of extinction. So our goal for this mission here is to spread awareness and promote conservation for endangered species. So in order for you to play this fun mission about endangered species, just log on to our website at www.wondersofwildlife.org/mission-conservation. On this website, we're going to take you down to get the app. That'll take you to download the Agents of Discovery app in order to play this AR platform. Scroll down just a little bit further until you find print images. Hit that download button and that'll take you to download our triggers. The last thing I'm going to take you to is schedule of missions and activities. Find the Join Agent Platypus Endangered Species of the World tab. Click on that. That'll take you to unlock our activity guide and our Snapchat filter that you guys get for playing and completing this really fun mission. So speaking of endangered species, we have a special guest with us today, all the way from Winston, Oregon at the Wildlife Safari. How are you doing today, Jane and Rob?
We are doing great. Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited.
I am so excited. What do you have for us today?
I have a few really special animals to introduce to you guys today, so I hope you're ready. And if you have any questions at all while we are streaming, feel free to pop those into the chat on Facebook, and we will happily answer those for you. But first, I am going to pass it over to Rob here, one of our carnivore keepers, and he is going to tell us all about some of the animals that are right behind us here.
Oh yeah, so my name is Rob. I work with the carnivores here, so we deal with the bears, lions, tigers, and cheetahs. And today we are dealing with my favorite animal of the group. We have our cheetahs here. So right here we have our newest family. So Delta is the mama, and then she has 6 kids here. So she is a very busy mom, and it is right on time for feeding time right now. So we are actually gonna toss them some of their food right now. So they're a very cool story in terms of they are doing a big part for conservation. We get a good look as they each get their own diet right now, and it takes them some time to figure out whose is whose. You can go ahead and toss the other ones too. But yeah, cheetahs, so they're a really cool story in terms of, so you guys are talking about conservation and everything, and that is a huge part of what we do here at the park. And our main job for these cheetahs is our breeding program. So we are the second most successful cheetah breeding program in the world, only second to the one actually in Africa. So we like to think they have home field advantage on that part. But we've had exactly 220 cheetahs born here, which is honestly incredible, the amount of cubs that we've gotten to have. Because cheetahs are actually very kind of finicky animals. They have to be very comfortable in their setting. They have to be very comfortable with everything that's going on before they go forward with the breeding process and everything. So with this family here, their birthday is actually coming up here in a couple months. It is March 28th. They'll be 1 year old. So they are growing bigger every day. It's honestly crazy. And so their function in terms of the conservation for their species is essentially a genetic backup, is what we like to call it. So with them, they are not able to be re-released into the wild because they don't have that natural hunting, or they don't know exactly how to hunt and everything like that. They get their food hand delivered to them. They're living a very pampered lifestyle, but their main purpose is to populate the breeding program. And with that is they breed, and then we try to breed the most distantly related ones to create the most genetically viable offspring. And the way we do that is actually we have a whole matrix thing in terms of matching them up. It's honestly like a big cheetah dating site, essentially. We try to match up the best match in terms of finding the 2 that are most distantly related. It's on a scale of 1 to 6, 1 being they are very, very distantly related, 6 being that they are siblings. So we're getting a better view over here as they're snacking. So we used to feed them just all like a some big diets, but now since they're getting quite a bit bigger, we give them each their own individual diets. So each cub is getting about 2 to 3 pounds of meat every day, and they get that every day. We do fast them once a week. You know, that kind of gives them a little bit more realistic in terms of in the wild, they wouldn't necessarily be eating every day. So by having that fast day, it helps to kind of regulate their stomach and helps them to give a more realistic eating schedule, essentially. So a big thing in conservation that we do for these guys is, of course, our breeding program, but we do sponsor a lot of other foundations out in Africa, kind of like Cheetah Conservation Botswana, and a lot of those different ones. And a big thing that we do is actually, so a problem that cheetahs have a lot of the times in the wild in terms of them running into humans is a lot of times a lion or something will come through at night and kill the farmer's livestock. And then so they eat on it for a while, and then once the daytime comes, the lions leave and they go home. Then during the daytime, the cheetahs come through and they see that meal there, like, oh, an easy snack, let's just snack on this. And so then the farmers come out in the morning and they see the cheetah snacking on their cow, and they're like, wow, that cheetah just killed my cow, like I need to shoot the cheetah too, sort of thing. Because they're like, yeah, that's my problem here. Yet they don't realize that the lions are the ones who are causing the problem. So what we do actually is we help support this foundation. They do is actually giving big guard dogs to those farmers. And what they do is the guard dogs will actually be very loud and bark and scare the cheetahs away, because cheetahs are very kind of, you know, flighty animals. If they're ever threatened, they're going to use their very high speeds and run away from any issue they may have. So those dogs, they may not save the cow's life in terms of the lions may end up getting to them, but it does save the cheetah's life in terms of keeping them away from the potential harm that the farmers may have. So not only do they do that, but a lot of other foundations are helping to educate a lot of the people out there in terms of the good they can do for these animals. The cheetahs, they rarely run into humans in terms of they're very, you know, they're going to give you your space. Like there's no instances of them attacking humans. That's very cool. But the biggest problem that they have is kind of our infringement on their land. So they are not technically endangered. They're actually listed as vulnerable. And our purpose of the park is to keep them either at that state or even, you know, move up into like a non-threatened sort of thing. So we don't want them to drop down into that. We don't want them to drop down into that endangered level. So we are doing our best here, and a lot of other programs in the United States have the same thing going on here. And it's honestly a crazy thing we're able to do. And like, you know, when I moved here, I was like, who would have thought that in Winston, Oregon, we have one of the top breeding centers in the world. That's very cool to see. See Delta here, she is the mother, and a very cool story with these guys is, so Delta actually only gave birth to 4 of these ones. If you could count all of them, there are actually 6 of them in there. 2 of them were actually cross-fostered from a different facility in Texas at Fossil Rim. So their mother gave birth and actually wasn't quite taking proper care of the cubs. Like, it's a common thing that actually happens with cheetahs sometimes. They're, like I said, they're very finicky animals, and sometimes the mothers just don't quite take to the kids right away. So that litter was born actually about a week before our litter here was born. So we were able to take them from Texas and actually sneak them in with Delta's cubs here. So we did it when they were very young. They were just a couple weeks old. So they had hardly even opened their eyes yet. So it was very easy. We were able to move Delta out of the area, and then we took the 2 cubs and actually snuck them in with the other cubs, put them in there, and then Delta moves back in and she sniffs them. She's like, did I count wrong? I think I have a couple more here, but she took to them like no problem. So it's, you know, we kind of benefit that they're not the best counters, I feel, but it's a benefit for their whole species. So she has taken to them like they're her own, honestly. So the male that was given to us, we got a male and a female from them. And honestly, I feel like her and the male, his name is Ellis, I feel like they have the tightest bond out of anyone. I feel like they're always hanging out. She'll even roughhouse with them. They play around. Since they're quite a bit younger than most of our other cheetahs, they have a lot of energy. So honestly, we could stand here all day and check them out. They're so cool. See, they finished some of theirs. He's got to bring his over here. He's like, you guys want to bite of mine? Let's share over here. But a lot of questions we get a lot of times is do we give them opportunities to run, you know, reach those top speeds, which is a great question. And I have a lot of different answers for it, yet the best way to start that answer is a cat's a cat. And they're, they're not going to run unless they have to. It is a little bit different story with these guys. They do have a lot more energy, but we're able to do a really cool thing in terms of every morning. The first thing we do once we get here is we close our entrance and our exit to our cheetah loop here, which is a very large area that we have all of our different display pens and everything. And we're able to give them access to this whole drive-through. So it's a very, very large area that they can, if they wanted to, reach those top speeds. They can go do whatever they like. The Cubs, they definitely utilize that time. They go visit everyone. They get to see even what a tiger looks like. They're like, wow, I don't want to mess with that guy. So they get to see everything in here. And then, at the end of the day, they'll be kind of laying around and then they're ready to go back inside. So they definitely use it. They'll run around. They'll reach some, pretty high speeds. Our other cheetahs, the adult ones, they have these big open areas that they walk around, sniff a bit, and find a corner and take a nap. So I think it's definitely a good testament to show just how comfy they are and how they are doing very well here. And they even see, so they're the far fence line back there, you can see our emu back there. They get a very nice view here. So they get to see the rest of our drive-throughs. They get to see what fallow deer look like. They get to see what emu look like. You would think that they're bothered by them a lot, but they actually, they keep themselves, they see them, they're like,
Oh, Rob, it seems like we might be having some internet connections with you here. Are you able to hear us still? All right, so it seems like we might be having a little bit of technical difficulties over on the wildlife safari side. So are you able to hear us now?
yeah. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, we can now. Sorry, I thought we had a little bit of a breakup. So since we have this short little break, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said how Mama Cheetah, she took in those cubs as if they were their own. Is that a natural behavior in the wild?
Yeah, not quite in the wild. I would say there's never a situation where like a different group of cheetah cubs is going to be joining a mom who has her own sort of thing. It's something that we're kind of able to take advantage of, that they, are not as aware and stuff, things like that. And we're able to sneak them in like that. Like in the wild, they're not going to be living in groups. So if a mother has cubs, she's going to be out on her own. She's not going to be with, she's not going to have a mom circle. They meet up every night sort of thing. She's going to be out on her own taking care of her cubs. So she's always going to be taking care of her cubs. If any other cubs from any other mothers are around, she's going to keep her distance sort of thing. She's not like naturally going to bring them in. We're able to do that because she's able to move out of the area. And when she comes back, she must not exactly realize. We do rub some of the kind of the bedding that they have in there on the new cubs we have going in, so they smell, just like her own cubs and everything. And it's actually been done many times and never has had an issue, which is honestly crazy. So we're getting a good view of these guys, and now we're actually going to head up and check out our tigers. We do have a very cool kind of showing for you right now. So we have to hop in our van and head up there, but I will tell you all about them as we're heading up. So right now, you guys will have a very unique experience because we are actually currently breeding our tigers. So if anyone knows anything about tigers, you know that they live on their own, they do their own thing sort of thing. And so breeding is a very rare thing to see. So we're very fortunate that our tigers, they are very comfortable with each other. A lot of times when breeding tigers, it can get, a little scary because tigers are very loud, they're very scary, things like that. We're very fortunate that our tigers have been very good together in terms of, they don't seem to fight at all, things like that. But when we go up, we'll get to see them together. I can't guarantee that we will see some action between them, but we'll always get to see them hanging out together, and I'll tell you all about their kind of their love story sort of thing. So the ones that we have right now are Dumai and Kamala. Dumai is our male and Kamala is our female. They both are 8 years old, and they've kind of known about each other for a while. They've been on like shared fence lines for a while, so they've been familiar with each other. It's actually a thing that we do when we're introducing like tigers to each other, and it's called a howdy. Kind of a funny word with it, but you have, the male tiger on one side, the female on the other, and a fence in between, and that gives them like a good look at each other. They're not quite together, so if they were a little spooked, they wouldn't hurt each other. But that's how we get them introduced to each other at first, and then once we see good signs that they are doing well together, actually the female, we really have to keep a close eye on her because we have to be able to tell when she is cycling, sort of thing. So we make sure that she is on the same page in terms of she's ready to breed, and then we make sure the male, Dumai, is ready to go as well. So we definitely advocate for consent here, even with our tigers as well. So it's a really cool thing. We will get to see them right over here. It is raining pretty hard right now, so they are hanging out under their cover here, and they like spending time together quite a bit. It's a kind of rare thing for tigers to enjoy time together because, like I said, they often will just live on their own, sort of thing. They don't live in big groups like lions would or anything. They live on their own. So coming up here on the right, we have Dumai, and then on the other side, we have Kamala, and we actually might get some action right now. They're on the other side of their cover here. So just a forewarning, if you guys see some things like that, it is an odd thing to see because it's not as, intimate as you would like to think. Dumai will mount Kamala, and it's actually a very painful thing for the female because actually the males have a barb on the tip of their penis. So once they start with breeding and everything, it actually does not feel very good for her. And so she'll kind of yell out a roar and everything, and he'll stay on top of her and everything, and then a lot of times she'll turn around and like shoo him off once he's finished and everything. So it's a kind of scary thing to see at times, but it's very cool with these guys because they have been so good. And what they do is once we know that the female is cycling, then we are going to put them together any chance we can get, as long as they're on the same page with each other. So the first thing we did this morning was we came and checked them out. We made sure that, so the signs that Kamala will show that she's interested is she'll be kind of rubbing up on the fence, next to him. She'll be kind of sinking her hips lower, kind of like a weird sort of squat position. And also they'll be doing a sound called a chuff at each other. And it sounds kind of like, like the sound like horses make a little bit, only a little less lips, sort of thing, is like how I like to think of it. But they'll be doing that back and forth at each other, and that just shows like, hey, I'm into you, and you're into me. This is awesome, sort of thing. So we make sure they're on the same page with that, and then we let them in together. And so when tigers are breeding, they will constantly breed until the female is not cycling anymore. So if this were in the wild, Dumai would be following Kamala wherever she goes until she is done cycling, sort of thing. And the way he can tell that is in terms of she'll be a lot more defensive in terms of she won't want him around at all, and he'll kind of get the idea, sort of thing. But right now you can tell they don't mind each other's company right now because, they both kind of have the same thing on their mind for sure. And they breed many times a day. I think last breeding cycle we had with them, they bred up to about 60 times in about 4 days. So they're busy cats for sure. Yeah. So it's really cool that we are, seeing this breeding and everything. Yet you can think like, what purpose is that? Like, how does that help anything? So with Sumatran tigers, I didn't even say what kind of tigers they are. They are Sumatran tigers. That is the subspecies that they are, and they are actually critically endangered, which is the highest threat level in terms of they are not doing well at all in the wild. They are found only on the island of Sumatra. It's a kind of shrinking island in terms of their forest ranges are dwindling quite drastically. A lot of paper companies and palm oil, things like that, have been coming to the area and kind of decimating their forest lands and everything. And it's taken us some time, but a lot of those companies have actually kind of realized the number that they've done on these guys, and they've now set aside large portions of land for them. it's like a great thing they're doing, but the impact they had on them has been very, very big for sure. Yet programs like us and a lot of other facilities in the nation and everything are part of this breeding program. So like I said, with the cheetahs, in terms of that like cheetah dating service thing, they have that exact same thing for the tigers as well. They have a whole system in terms of pairing up, the most distantly related. It is a little bit easier with these guys because there are very, very few, not only in the wild, but in captivity sort of thing. With the cheetahs, we have a database of several hundred sort of thing. With these Sumatran tigers, I don't even know if it exceeds over 100. So it's a little bit easier to play that matchmaking service. And we actually got Dumai actually 2 years ago. So we got him 2 Februarys ago, and we got a recommendation because he matched up well with the girls. And so Kamala and her sister Raya, actually, they live together because they grew up together and they've always known each other, so they don't really know anything else other than, living together and stuff. And we, as a team, decided that Kamala was a better match for Dumai than Raya is, just because Kamala is a very easygoing, laid back. Same with Dumai. He's a very chill guy. They had very matching personalities. Raya is kind of a go-getter. She's she's a lot quicker to move. Kamala, this is about her extent of the day. So that's how we matched that up. And so it's the same idea in terms of we can't release these guys back into the wild, yet we can, try to breed the most healthy genes possible, take those genetics, and then implant them into wild tigers sort of thing is essentially our purpose. The biggest purpose that a lot of people coming into the park will know and see and experience is the education standpoint. And a big thing that I believe in, and all of us here, is that it can be a little tricky to care for something if you don't see it or experience it. So by giving guests an experience of seeing these guys, up close, and like very cool experience like that, it makes it a lot easier for them to care about them and, want to do some good for them. So by experiencing this, hopefully you guys seeing this will want to maybe take a look more at what you can do for these guys. And, just a couple of things you can do is not only just showing up to the park, because a huge amount of our funds go right back into the conservation for a lot of these animals. Every year we donate a ton to like cheetah conservation in Botswana. We have a Madagascar fund. We give some to like elephant funds. And so it's one of them we rotate every year. So eventually we might get a tiger fund in there as well. But a huge amount of the money that we have every year goes right back into all these animals. And it's honestly incredible how we're able to do that and for people to experience it as well. So did we have any questions on there before we get wrapped up?
I actually do have a question for you. You may have mentioned this earlier, but I just kind of want to touch on it again. So once the breeding has started and they have the cubs, do you reintroduce them into the wild?
Yeah, so there are programs that are more suitable to do that, especially with the cheetahs. They're able to go through a whole protocol in terms of they will breed them and then slowly, like in terms of differing sizes pens and further away from people, can slowly get them more accustomed to the wildlife essentially. With us being here in Oregon, we're not able to necessarily release them into the wild out here. And we want them to be, like, we essentially know our purpose in terms of there are other facilities that are able to do that in terms of, breeding to potentially slow release them into the wild or to kind of protected areas to get them more accustomed to the wildlife and then eventually live a true wildlife. We know our purpose in terms of we are going to do the breeding to create the good genetics and everything. So we know, like, our purpose here, if we could do that, that would be incredible. If we could release them back into the wild. But we kind of collaborate with a lot of those other foundations and companies and stuff to, use our genetics to better benefit them as well. So yeah, that's a really good question. Our facilities are suited to do that. Unfortunately, we're not able to, since we can't really release them here, and shipping them all the way out to like Sumatra or something could be maybe some risky business. And so we are doing our big part here, which is really cool. And those other companies and programs are super good at that stuff too. So that's a good question.
That's great. To me, the most important part of conservation is education. So you guys do fit that key aspect there. I have one more question for you, if you don't mind.
For sure.
So you said you have the Sumatran tigers. Do you have any other types of tigers out there?
So we actually only have these Sumatran tigers. We have the 3 of them. And just a quick thing on Sumatra, they are like the smallest subspecies of tigers. So if you see these guys and they look kind of big, imagine other tigers who will get actually almost 3 times as heavy as these guys. So yeah, we only have these guys at our park. Other facilities, you know, they do the same process with their tigers as we are with these guys. So that is what we have here. Maybe eventually we can get some other kinds of tigers, but honestly, Sumatrans, they've really more on my heart. I like them a lot. Their coloring is beautiful.
Yes, both of the cats you showed today are absolutely stunning. But I think we are running out of time right now, Rob. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no, thank you for checking in. And like you said, I hope you guys had a very educational time and learned a lot about these guys. I love having you guys.
Thank you again, Rob. So join us next week at 1 p.m. Central Time as we have our newest guest with us, the St. Louis Zoo. It's going to be at 1 p.m. Central Time. We'll see you then. Thank you so much.